Hey, everybody. On today's Locked On Bama, we're going to talk about several things. Got a lot of little tidbits today. We're going to pause the countdown for just one day, let Jimmy catch up with his own countdown. That's one thing we got to do. But we are going to talk about some tidbits from all around Alabama. There's basketball recruiting. There's Agiye Hall news. Um, there's Alabama Texas kickoff news. All that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the top 5 quarterbacks that Alabama's going to play against this year. And we're going to talk about, when is Alabama going to lose this next home game? They've won 13 in a row. When do you think Alabama will lose their next home game? We'll talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Bama.
Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
I'm doing great. There is a lot of recruiting stuff out there, not so much as commitments, but there's a lot of recruiting stuff to talk about, and I'm eager to jump in.
Yeah, really, it's more just stuff. I mean, one thing I want to start with is Alabama, Texas will kick off on Fox. I think the whole world now assumes that game will be at 11 o'clock. I've been making my plans to go for quite some time. I'm very disappointed because I assume I'm just going to evaporate into the atmosphere. It's going to be so damn hot. I've been to Austin, Texas numerous times. It's a great place to go. I really do love Austin, Texas. I do not enjoy the idea of watching a football game at 11 o'clock early September in Austin, Texas, though. It's going to be a scorcher, but that's what it looks like it's going to be, and it's going to be on Fox. We're probably going to have Gus Johnson, whose head may just explode while he's announcing. So there are some good things that are going to be on at this game. But anyway, what do you think about the game being on Fox and not on CBS or ABC? It couldn't be on CBS, but on ABC or ESPN.
I certainly expected it to be. I mean, this is what I expected. That's not to say I'm not not thrilled with. I'm not. I'll be honest, if we can keep it between us, I'm not a huge fan of college football on Fox. I mean, in the sense that I don't think their productions and everything are as good as ESPN and CBS, and I like their personalities less than the other networks. I mean, I'm just saying, so I'm not crazy about that. But hey, it was a Texas home game, and Texas home games are the province of Fox because they've got that contract with the Big 12. And this is a Big 12 home game, which means it's Fox's game. And Fox, starting a couple seasons ago, had the idea that, hey, look, night primetime is sort of owned by ABC and ESPN, and CBS sort of has a kick-ass thing at 2:30, and we can't compete with that. And that leaves us the 11 o'clock time slot. And they sort of, on the one hand, sort of brilliantly came up with the idea of, hey, we could compete with game day if we have a game day like show, and it leads into our biggest game of the day, the number one game of the day on our network, and our whole game day type show leads right into that kickoff at 11. So they've been putting their number one game at 11 a.m. for a while. And so I'm not surprised, but I'm also not happy because, as we know, at Alabama, we bitch about 11 a.m. kickoffs. I'm still bitching. I'll be there, I'm sure, and it's going to be insanely hot. Of course, it would be insanely hot that time of the year, even at 2:30 for sure. Might even be hotter then. So it's going to be hot and a hostile work environment, to say the least. But I tell you what, though, talk about these kickoff times, and ESPN released some kickoff times today too, and some games that will be on the ABC, ESPN networks. And oh, does it get me excited about football?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. ESPN, ABC came out, like you said, with some other kickoff times, and I mean, I was thinking it's just around the corner. Really, I'm in Indianapolis today, and when I first got here this morning, it's like 57 degrees. And I swear, Jimmy, I'm walking off the airplane because I saw where it's 57 degrees. I said, damn, it's 57 degrees. It's almost June. And then my first thought was, it's almost June. Then comes July. Then August. Then it's football season. I was like, if I can just get through the summer, which is my least favorite season. I've said that a million times because, see, now I'm older and I'm married. Bikinis do nothing for me. So what use do I have for a bunch of 20-year-olds in bikinis anymore? That was the summer. That was why everybody loved summer. Not anymore. It's done. I've got nothing but football, y'all. All right. Also, Alabama, Texas, speaking of that, I think the whole world was anticipating as a ghost has entered my room. The whole world was anticipating. Actually, it kind of looks like we're in the same room. Like you have a window on over your right shoulder. I have one over my right shoulder, and we're sort of. It's like they're right next to each other. It's kind of weird. Anyway, Agiye Hall. It looks like I would say pretty certain that Agiye Hall has already maybe not worked out at Texas. A lot of social media stuff has been taken down by him about his being at the University of Texas. There was something out there about his not being on the roster, but maybe he wasn't on the roster anyway because maybe they'd come out with an updated roster or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't look good in terms of Agiye Hall being at Alabama. And that being said, Jimmy, it would shock me in the East at some point if there was a Jaleel Billings, like, hey, maybe Jaleel's not going to be here either. I'm not saying I'm pulling against these kids. I'm pulling for them. I am 100% pulling for them. I want them to do well. They're kids. Kids change their mind, make mistakes, all that stuff. But Agiye Hall went out guns a-blazing towards the University of Alabama. And, you know, it's going to be kind of it's going to be hard to stop typical Alabama fans from laughing a little bit if he didn't work out at Texas, right?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm with you. I want things to work out for Agiye and Jaleel Billingsley. I honestly do. But if you look at the list of kids that have left Alabama since the end of last season or during the season, you know, since August of 2021, who's left Alabama and entered the portal, it's a long list of kids. But there are only two that left a sour taste in your mouth if you're an Alabama fan, and that's Agiye and Jaleel. All the others, is anybody out there have Pierce Quick Venom or even Marcus Banks who left during the season? And we're like, dang, Marcus, if you'd have stayed, you'd probably started. But were we mad? Kane Williams left, go to Nebraska. Caden Clark is at Akron. Ziggy Williams is at Utah State. That's sort of fun. That'll be in the opener. I'm just saying that there's a different feeling in the fan base about Agiye and Jaleel leaving and going to Texas. Not that we're jilted in any way, but they just left under different circumstances than all the others. And I think that's why our feelings about it are a little different. And no one should have joy at what's going on with Agiye. And I don't. But I also think, man, that if that kid has been kicked out or not accepted into Texas, or who knows what's going on, I don't know that right now as we record this. But if he's not getting into Texas or won't be allowed to be part of the team there, man, that kid needs an intervention. And it would be, it would be best if Nick Saban was in the room, but now that won't happen or can't happen. And that's a shame because, I say this all the time and I mean it. Some kids need Nick Saban more than he needs them. And it's a shame that those two sort of burn that bridge.
Yeah, speaking of bridges you don't want to burn, if there was a bridge to Built Bar, you would not want to burn it because Built Bar, these things are delicious, nutritious. Imagine dipping your finger into that plastic tub of birthday cake frosting and then opening your eyes and realizing it was only 150 calories and 16 grams of protein. That is what it's like to eat one of these new birthday cake puffs from Built. We just got some as samples. They are unbelievably good. I absolutely love them. If you haven't tried the puffs, let you in on a little secret because that's what friends do. A chocolate-covered marshmallow protein bar is what it is. You heard me. It's a chocolate-covered protein bar. Delicious flavored marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. Or in the birthday cake, it's almost like a white chocolatey type thing. But it's unbelievable. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15, get 15% off that order. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off that order. You will thank me later. Built.com, promo code LOCK15 for 15% off your order. Also, thanks for making Locked On Bama your first listen every day. We appreciate you guys. Make sure to go check out Locked On NBA Big Board. Host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies and author of the NBA Big Board newsletter is joined by Richard Stayman, Sam Ferris, and Thief Lunan. Leaf Lennon. No, Leaf Lennon. I sing it. Leaf Lennon. I guess he's like a Norse god. Leaf Thulin, maybe. Giving fans an in-depth look at the NBA draft, mock draft, player rankings, and of course the big boards. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast, just like you get your podcast right here. You can go to Locked On Big Boards. That's what you want. So, all right, Jimmy, a couple other just little tidbits. First of all, Cade Phillips, fabulous basketball player, son of a couple of former Alabama stars in their own right. He is going to make his commitment next week. And all the rumors appear now, he made this announcement today, all the rumors appear that it won't be Alabama. What do you think about that? Because you want to talk about super Alabama double legacy. That's him.
Double legacy. I like that. Yeah. It's very hard to imagine this not being Alabama if Alabama is pushing for a commitment. We don't know that yet. We can't confirm that, deny it. Let me just start from a pure basketball standpoint. Alabama has a unique style of play. Not every big. Cade is a big. He's a power forward, 6'9", over 200 pounds. He's going to be a monster kid as he gets older and fills out. He's going to be a monster. This is a power forward inside player, maybe even a center long term. I think it is fair to watch some highlights and wonder whether he fits in Nate's system. I think that's fair. I'm not saying he is or isn't. I'm saying that's a legit question. He is the number one prospect in Alabama in this class, I think, in terms of the rankings, in terms of recruiting interest and offers. It's a real interesting case, Luke, because I'm not convinced this is going to be Alabama. And if it's not, and he goes somewhere else, and we don't have good inside scoop at On3 yet over what this is going to be. We believe, based on what we know, it's Tennessee, maybe Georgia or Georgia Tech. That's what we believe. And all I know is if he turns down Alabama, that's going to be a difficult pill to swallow, but him and his family would have their reasons for that. If Alabama turns him down, that's a big story too, because if you turn down a double legacy, as you put it, if you turn away a double legacy and he goes somewhere else and he's great, fans don't forget that. They do forget it when it's a kid they're not familiar with. But I think Alabama basketball fans know who Cade Phillips is and who he's related to and how highly ranked he is. If he goes to, let's say, Tennessee and plays for Rick Barnes and that program, which, by the way, is sort of a really good basketball program right now, and he had that option to go to Tennessee and not Alabama, I will explain it away as style and scheme. But, gosh, that's just a difficult situation,
Yeah, boy, I really want him at Alabama, but I'm conflicted because it's like some of these other legacies we've had in football where I want you to go to Alabama, but if Saban didn't want you, who am I to say? If Saban doesn't think you fit the system or whatever, and we don't know that Cade Phillips didn't commit down. What if he is committing to Alabama?
He may very well be. He may very well be. Oh, gun to my head right now. Hey, let's all bet $1. I'm betting Alabama.
Yeah, and I think he's a really good player. I would love to have him on this team. Let's make that clear. I don't think he's Brandon Miller. So, where he's, I'm not even sure he's J.D. Davison. I think he's I think he's a.
I got a couple pretty good comparisons.
If you're going to say Sam Hagginess, I'm going to say Sam Hagginess plus.
Well, I was going to say Sam Hagginess, and this is why. Sam was the number one player in the state when he came out. He is a power forward. He was recruited by a lot of big, nice programs, and he did not have an illustrious career at Alabama by any means, though he did contribute. I tell you, another similar kid to me is Wade Kaiser, in terms of like the kind of career I would expect Cade to have, maybe. And Wade was a number one player. Yeah, the state of Alabama doesn't always have a national top 15 player as the number one prospect. So, and again, I'm not saying Cade. As a matter of fact, you hope that maybe Cade might be a little better than those guys. But yeah, I'm with you, Luke. I'm not telling everybody we need to offer Cade because he's J.D. Davison, or we need to offer him because he's, John Petty. No, he's not that level of player, but he's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's ranked about where Chuck Davis was. I mean, in terms of national rankings, he's ranked about where Chuck was. Chuck was a pretty damn good basketball player at Alabama.
All right, we gotta scoot into these other things very quickly. So one thing I wanted to bring up was and maybe this is better for another time, but I just think it's interesting. I'll just bring it up now. Maybe it's something we think about. I noticed there was an article on Bama Online about Alabama's home winning streak, and I think the longest home winning streak in the country right now is Clemson at 34. Alabama's at 13, which is pretty damn good in the SEC.
Yep.
But I just started thinking, I was like, when do we lose at home again? I mean, I think the smart money would be, okay, if you want to say when do I think is most likely, I mean, people would probably say Texas A&M this year. But I think Alabama beats Texas A&M this year. I think they go undefeated at home this year with a Heisman quarterback and Jahmyr Gibbs and, just a bevy of other talent and Nick Saban. Man, I'm going to have to really look. I mean, could it be Texas next year if they're led by Archie Manning? Could it be Tennessee next year if Tennessee's really got it turned around like a lot of people think they will? Could it be LSU with Brian Kelly the next year? And I'm talking about 2023 now because I feel like 2022 they go undefeated. So, or do you still feel like Alabama could be, maybe they have Archie Manning or Eli Holstein or Ty Simpson or, anybody at quarterback kicking butt. And maybe Alabama goes undefeated. It may be a while before we lose at home. Now, that being said, nobody thought we'd lose at home in 2015 to Ole Miss or thought we'd, losing at home in 2019 against LSU. Okay, I think people can live with that, understand that. That was an awesome team, but we still probably should have won. But or A&M in 2012. But we don't lose at home much, and I'm not sure we're going to lose at home again anytime soon. Let's save it. Let's table it for another podcast, but I just think it's a good question.
It is a good question, and I don't have an answer. I'll just say I agree with you that Alabama is very likely to win all their home games in 2022, including Texas A&M. We do really well in those revenge-type scenarios. But I've already written one piece for On 3, Luke, where I said Alabama's going to have 16 players taken in this upcoming draft. And if that's the case, man, there's going to be a lot of new faces in that lineup in 2023. I'm not going to use the word rebuild just yet. And with the transfer portal and your Alabama, maybe there's never a need to rebuild. It's just a reload, though you're meshing a lot of new faces. I'm just saying 2023 might not be what 2022 is. New quarterback, a lot of new things probably. Bill O'Brien will be a head coach somewhere. And, who knows? Maybe you win the national championship and Nick Saban goes to the lake and watches the duck shit. You muted? Because that should have been a laugh.
Yes, I'm muted.
Well, I just knew that was getting laughed.
I know. I did laugh. And then I was trying to have a segue, and I blew it all. But what I'm going to do now is just talk about RockAuto. I hadn't done the mute thing in a while, so I was due. This episode is brought to you by RockAuto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure the often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions like, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX or FX or a DX or a DMX? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on the computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com right there at your house or at work or in your pocket, i.e. your phone. Save time and money when using RockAuto. Why choose to spend 30 or 50 or even 100% more for the same parts at a chain store? You don't want to do that. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in the How'd You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto. All right, Jimmy, 5 best quarterbacks we're going to play this year. Interesting topic again. Good job. I'm stealing some content from Bama Online. That's absolutely okay. Now, as I'm sitting here right now, this just came across the wire. Agiye Hall will be enrolled at Texas by the end of the month, according to Hall's 7-on-7 coach. That just came across the wire as we are sitting here. Very interesting. I don't know if that's true or not.
Why did he remove all of the references to Texas on his social media?
No idea.
And again, I never reported, nor did anyone that I'm aware of. No one at On3 reported that Agiye Hall would not be at Texas. There was just a lot of stuff adding up to that today. And who knows? Good for him. I hope he goes to Texas and wins valedictorian and the Heisman.
That would be something. But I just found, again, It was very interesting, and the rumors were rampant, and we're not reporting the news.
And the kid wasn't denying him. The kid wasn't denying him. In fact, the kid changed his avatar to him in an Alabama jersey.
He did. That's weird.
Well, yeah, the kid will play to the crowd now.
He will.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what I'm just going to read these aloud. Tell me if you take issue with any of these. Bama Online had the top 5 quarterbacks Alabama's going to play. Number 5 is Will Rogers. I personally think that's too low. Number 4 is Miles Brennan at LSU. Number 3 is Max Johnson at Texas A&M. 2 is KJ Jefferson in Arkansas. 1 is Hendon Hooker at Tennessee. The first thing that stands out to me in all those, there is a very good chance I would change every single one of them. And number 2, I'm not so sure we don't see like somebody from the Dart kid at Mississippi on that list, when all's said and done.
Right.
And tell me how we think Miles Brennan is ahead of Will Rogers when Will Rogers is setting records left and right. I don't understand that. And then the other thing that stands out to me, it's not a great year for quarterbacks Alabama's facing.
I actually think it's a good – I think Alabama's going to play several good quarterbacks. I really do. I think this is a year where we'll see
good,
more
not
good
great.
Good, but not great. Yes, but good. Several good ones. Did Travis write that? Did you see?
I'm looking. Let me look real quick. You caught me off guard.
I'm just saying. I so rarely disagree. Travis is great.
Travis wrote it.
I'm so rarely disagree with Travis over anything. But that list surprised me. Here's 2 things that surprised. First of all, I agree with you. Will Rogers should be much higher. I think Will Rogers will be discussed, quite frankly, as a first-round pick in the draft. I really believe he will. Secondly, how do we know that Miles Brennan is even going to be the starter at LSU? And I like Miles Brennan. I think Miles Brennan is a good quarterback. And I think Brian Kelly made a mistake in bringing in Jaden Daniels. I thought it was insulting to Miles. And Miles, they basically beg Miles to come back, and he does. And then they bring in this kid from Arizona State. Anyway, I'm not convinced Miles will be the starting quarterback over Jaden Daniels. He might be, but I'm not convinced of it. Secondly, I'm not convinced Max Johnson will be the quarterback at A&M.
Yeah, me neither.
Over either Haynes King or Connor Weigman. I think Connor Weigman or Haynes King might beat out Max Johnson. So I'm not even sure that they're the starters. Will Rogers should be higher. I do think Hendon Hooker's really good. He's a good player and deserves to be on that list somewhere. Maybe not number 1, but around number 1. And I'm a Hendon Hooker guy. I think he's a player. I think he's going to be talked about, frankly, in some of the ways that Malik Willis was talked about during this past draft process. And as we know, some people thought Malik would go as high as the first round. He went the 4th. I think Hendon Hooker could kind of be that guy that way. Is he a first-round pick? Is he a 4th-round pick? But he is going to be drafted. KJ Jefferson, interesting player, good player, a winner. He's tough. He racked up some pretty damn good numbers against us a year ago. Now, he's not going to be throwing to Treylon Burks this year, and I think Burks sort of helped KJ, put up the numbers that he did.
They did get the transfer from Oklahoma.
Yeah, Hazelwood, but are we sure that Hazelwood's good? I know he's a 5-star, but that doesn't mean anything. It means something, but it doesn't mean everything. I'm not a big fan of that list, though I admittedly, I've not done my own list yet, and I will eventually because that's such a great subject. But I other than Hendon Hooker at 1 and Will Rogers being on the list somewhere, I'm not a fan of the list. And I agree with you, Luke, that Jackson Dart probably should be on there. But at the same token, he hasn't exactly beaten out Luke Altmaier yet. So, Interesting.
I guess it's just one of those things. It's like coming out with the top 25 before everybody announces for the draft, because we need to see a little bit more out of all these quarterbacks. I love KJ Jefferson. I really do. I think he's got a great game. I like Hendon Hooker a lot. I just don't think any of those quarterbacks are fantastic, and I wouldn't rank any of them ahead of Will Rogers, but that's just me. Jimmy,
let me ask you this. Luke, this is a good question, and it's nuts. It's nuts, but it's a good question for college football fans. If Quinn Ewers signed with Arkansas, Ewers, who's the quarterback at Arkansas this year? KJ Jefferson or Quinn Ewers?
I'd say KJ.
I think I would say KJ, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
So why is KJ on the list and why is Quinn Ewers not?
Yeah,
so
I
mean, that's just another thing. I mean, why do we assume? I know Quinn Ewers is sort of unlikable. You know, I think it's the money, it's the Ohio State Texas thing, and it's the hair. I think he's unlikable from afar, but this was a 5-star plus dude. I mean, where is the assumption that Quinn Ewers isn't going to be great? Where does that come from? So, boy, I think it's a fascinating subject, and I appreciate Travis for giving it a stab. I think this is one of the few times in my whole life I've gone, Travis, I don't agree. I doubt he'll be able to sleep. But I think he'll be able to sleep tonight. Yep.
All right, buddy. That's going to do it for this episode. We'll be back tomorrow with more Locked On Bama. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.